The pregnancy test has 2 pink lines. Jessica stares at it for the 4th time, hoping the result will somehow change. But there they are, 2 distinct, unmistakable lines announcing the news that should make her best friend the happiest woman alive. Chiara is calling from the parking lot of the doctor's office, her voice bright with tears and laughter. "Jess, it's positive. After 2 years of trying, it's finally positive." Jessica grips the phone tighter, forcing enthusiasm into her voice. "Oh my God, Chiara, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you." And she is. She really is. But underneath, the genuine joy is something darker, more complicated. A poisonous whisper that asks the question she's ashamed to even think. Why her and not me? You know this feeling, don't you? That moment when someone else's good news highlights the emptiness in your own life. When their breakthrough becomes a mirror reflecting your breakdown. When their answered prayer amplifies the silence where your prayers seem to disappear. It's the emotion no Christian admits to having. The sin we commit in private while maintaining perfect Sunday smiles. Envy, the only deadly sin that provides no pleasure whatsoever. Jessica has been trying to conceive for 3 years. 3 years of tracking ovulation, scheduling intimacy, swallowing supplements that promise fertility but deliver only false hope. 3 years of negative tests, disappointed doctors, and conversations about unexplained infertility that explain nothing. 3 years of pretending she's fine when friends announce their pregnancies, of leaving baby showers early with mysterious headaches, of avoiding the church nursery because the sound of babies crying feels like accusation. You wanted this, the crying seems to say, but apparently not enough. We have to celebrate, Chiara is saying. Can you meet me for dinner? I want to tell you everything the doctor said about due dates and morning sickness and... Of course, Jessica interrupts, her throat tight. Text me the restaurant. I'll be there. She hangs up and immediately hates herself. Hates that she can't be purely happy for her best friend. Hates that Chiara's joy feels like judgment on her own emptiness. Hates that she's become the kind of person who measures God's love by comparing circumstances instead of trusting His character. The story of Jonathan and David has always fascinated me, but not for the reasons most people think. Everyone focuses on their famous friendship, their covenant love, their loyalty that transcended political rivalry. But consider what Jonathan actually gave up. He was the crown prince of Israel, the rightful heir to his father's throne. David was a shepherd boy who had been secretly anointed as the next king. By every human calculation, David represented the death of Jonathan's future. Yet Scripture tells us that Jonathan's soul was knit to David's soul, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And then in a gesture that still takes my breath away, Jonathan took off his royal robe and gave it to David. His sword, his bow, his belt, the symbols of his own authority and calling. Jonathan celebrated the very success that would cost him everything. The restaurant is too bright, too cheerful for the war happening in Jessica's heart. Chiara glows with the particular radiance of early pregnancy, her hands already protective over a belly that shows no sign of the life growing within. "I can't believe it's real," Chiara says, cutting her salmon into tiny bites. Dr. Martinez says everything looks perfect. Due date is March 15th. Can you believe we'll be mums by spring? We. The word hits Jessica like a physical blow. "That's incredible timing," Jessica manages. "Spring babies are so lucky." But inside, she's drowning. Drowning in the gap between Chiara's we and her own solitary struggle. Drowning in the assumption that, of course, Jessica will be pregnant soon too. Because that's how these things work in movies and Sunday school lessons and anywhere but real life. "I have to ask you something," Chiara says, leaning forward with the conspiratorial excitement of new pregnancy. "Will you be my birth partner? I mean, I know you're not pregnant yet, but when you are?" "When I am." Jessica's voice comes out sharper than intended. Chiara blinks, confused. "I mean, you and David have been trying too, right? I just assumed." And there it is. The casual assumption that everyone gets what they want if they want it badly enough. The unspoken belief that fertility is a reward for being good enough, faithful enough, deserving enough. 3 years, Jessica says quietly. "We've been trying for 3 years." The silence that follows is excruciating. Chiara's face cycles through shock, recognition, guilt, and the particular horror of realizing you've been complaining about a blessing to someone who would kill for your problems. "Jess, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I mean, I knew you wanted kids, but I didn't realize..." "It's okay," Jessica lies. "I'm happy for you. Really. But it's not okay. And they both know it." That night, Jessica sits in her empty nursery, the room she painted yellow 3 years ago in optimistic preparation, and finally lets herself feel the full weight of her envy. Not just about Chiara's pregnancy, but about every pregnancy announcement on social media, every baby shower invitation, every Christmas photo featuring perfect families with perfect children living perfect lives. She's tired of pretending to be gracious, tired of celebrating other people's answered prayers, while her own seem to vanish into cosmic silence. Tired of being the good Christian woman who rejoices with those who rejoice, while quietly bleeding out from her own unacknowledged grief. The Apostle Paul knew something about this kind of emotional complexity when he wrote, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep." Most people think the first half of that command is easier. Who doesn't want to celebrate good news? But Paul understood human nature better than that. He knew that sometimes weeping with someone in their sorrow is infinitely easier than rejoicing in their joy, especially when their joy highlights our own lack. He knew that genuine celebration requires a death to self that feels like crucifixion. 2 weeks later, Jessica makes a decision that surprises her. Instead of avoiding Chiara, she calls her. "I need to tell you something," she says, "and I need you to let me say it without trying to fix it." They meet at the same restaurant, but this time Jessica comes prepared for honesty instead of performance. "I am happy for you," she begins, "but I'm also struggling with envy, and I need to own that instead of pretending it doesn't exist." Chiara starts to speak, but Jessica holds up her hand. "Your pregnancy is a good thing, a beautiful thing, but it's also painful for me. And that doesn't make me a bad friend or a bad Christian. It makes me human. I want to celebrate with you, but I also need space to grieve what I don't have. I need our friendship to be big enough to hold both those truths." What follows is the most honest conversation of their 20-year friendship. Chiara admits she's felt guilty about her good news, afraid that her joy was insensitive to Jessica's pain. Jessica admits she's been avoiding baby-related conversations and feels terrible about it. They discover that authenticity creates more intimacy than performance ever could. That acknowledging the complexity of their emotions actually makes space for deeper connection, not distance. "I don't need you to hide your joy," Jessica says finally, "but I also can't pretend that watching you get what I want isn't difficult. And I don't need you to be fake happy all the time," Chiara replies. "I need you to be real." 6 months later, Jessica throws Chiara the most beautiful baby shower anyone has ever seen. Not because her envy has magically disappeared, she still feels the familiar pang when she arranges the tiny clothes and bottles. But because she's learned that love doesn't require the absence of difficult emotions, it requires the choice to act lovingly despite them. She's learned that true friendship is spacious enough to hold both celebration and grief, joy and longing, love and the complicated feelings that come with being human. That afternoon, as friends and family gather to honor new life, Jessica feels something shift in her heart. Not the elimination of her desire for her own child, but a loosening of the grip that desire has had on her ability to love well. She looks at Chiara, radiant at 8 months pregnant, and realizes that her friend's blessing doesn't diminish her own worth. That God's love isn't a limited resource to be rationed, but an abundance to be celebrated wherever it appears. That learning to rejoice genuinely in others' good fortune might be one of the most transformative spiritual disciplines of all. Tonight, maybe you're struggling with your own version of Jessica's envy. Maybe someone else's success is highlighting your failure. Maybe their answered prayer is amplifying your silence. Maybe their blessing feels like judgment on your emptiness. You don't have to pretend to be happy. You don't have to perform gratitude you don't feel. You don't have to fake celebration while you're privately grieving. But you can choose to love anyway. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but authentically. You can learn, like Jonathan, that someone else's victory doesn't require your defeat. That God's goodness to them doesn't diminish His love for you. That their story and your story can both be beautiful, even when they look completely different. the kingdom of heaven is spacious enough for all our contradictions. Your envy and your love, your grief and your celebration, your questions and your faith. Bring it all. God is big enough to hold it. And so is real friendship.